Welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode Reviews, where we look at the latest comics and other media featuring the Transformers. This week, it's the beginning of the end as we review Transformers Shattered Glass 2, number 1, the final IDW Transformers comic series. Today is Friday, September 16th, and this is episode 303 of Transmissions Alt Mode.
Welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, the podcast that's been masquerading as a good podcast for years. I'm your host, Charles, aka Big C, and I'm joined by the excellent Transmissions team. Jeremy, aka Yakko.
Hey, how's it going?
Apollo, aka Robo Apollo.
Hi, everyone.
And Daryl, the Cybertronian Beast.
Howdy. Let's talk Transformers.
As always, we start the show by thanking our Donatreons, those lovely people who support us on Patreon and PayPal. Thank you all so much for continuing to help us out and support the show. We really appreciate it. If you are not a Donatreon and would like to become one, just go to transmissionspodcast.com/support. That's where you can sign up and help us out. We do offer some perks and some gifts for becoming a Donatreon and being a member of the exclusive club. One of those is that we give you access to our early bonus uncut versions of the Empire of Rust Transformers Live Play RPG podcast. And this coming week, this Monday, September 19th, you're going to get episode 85, De Magnum Unchained. So this is the early bonus version of episode 85. This will be out a week before it goes up in the free feed and the edited regular version. So if you're a Donatron, you get that early and get to hear the story continue. So enjoy. Try not to spoil it for everyone else, but you get early access. Also, this week we had episode 2 of We Like Big Bots. So that's already out and available for you on the Patreon page. You can check that out. It's Daryl and Dr. Pants talking about big robots. Daryl, do you want to give a tease about what robot you're talking about this week, or are you still keeping it under wraps?
Well, we the show went up yesterday, right? So those who
it was up on Monday, so it's been up for a while.
Monday. Oh, damn. Okay, yeah. So it's been up for a while. So but for those of you who have access, you know what show or robot we talked about. It's a big one. So you can definitely tell people if you wanted to reveal it, but we're talking about a fun robot who's not adverse to having some gut pain every now and then, but he didn't know what to do with the gut pain in the end, and it definitely killed him. So either way, it's a fun discussion. Both Dr. Pants and I have different a couple different figures, a couple different figures of this character, and we enjoy getting them out and talking about them and showing them off on the stream. So yeah, it's a fun show. And I hope you enjoy it. And I hope you enjoyed. Those of you who were able to get it, hope you enjoyed the first one, the Jetfire one. It's a Donatreon exclusive show, so only those of you with access can get it. So but it's a fun show, and we've got a few more of these coming now too. So we're gonna keep making them now that we know that they're starting to come out, and the supply is dwindling that we have built up. So,
and people are liking it.
That's true. We have a couple compliments, so that's nice.
Next up, we had producer and editor Mike was on the Animazing Radio YouTube show, and he was talking Transmissions and Empire of Rust and his love of Transformers. So definitely check that out. We'll have a link in the show notes. It was very cool to see him on the Animazing Radio show, and thanks, Mike, for shouting out the podcast while you were there. So check that out. It was a kind of a long show, so you got a lot of content there, and you see Mike, his smiling face there, and hopefully Mike will be back on Transmissions next week so he can tell us all about it. So check it out. And that's all the news bits, so let's jump into our comic review. This week we are reviewing Transformers Shattered Glass 2, number 1. This is written by Danny Lohr, art by Marcelo Mater and Andrew Lee Griffith, additional inks by Gigi Dutre, colors by John Paul Bove, letters by Jake M. Wood, editor Riley Farmer, and supervising editor David Marriott. We've got 4 covers. Cover A is Magnus conquering all his enemies, and that's by Nick Brokenshire. Cover B is Magnus showing his true face. That's by Red Powell. The retailer incentive is Magnus's reflection shatters the glass by Marcelo Mater and colors by Thomas Deere. And then the Hasbro Pulse cover is Magnus attacking. And that's by KCW Collar. And that is exclusive to the Hasbro Pulse release. That's where the Ultra Magnus Shattered Glass figure is packed in with the comic. And so you only get that version of the cover with that special comic there. So, Daryl, which of these 4 covers do you like the best?
Well, I ended up buying cover A just because that's the only one that I was able to get from my shop. But I think just because of the way that the story goes, I like the retail incentive the best. It just it works with the kind of the character having the 2 faces. So it regardless of shattered glass, the kind of the 2-faced character is it works really well with that one.
Cool. Apollo, which one are you picking?
I really like the retail incentive cover. I just really like how it's a very complicated art piece. So shout out to the artists who did this, because the glass is shattering, but it has the reflection of the different pieces of Ultra Magnus's face, from the version we know of him, the good version, and underneath is the shattered glass version of him. So I just really like the complexity, and it's a very interesting cover, and I like the colors too.
Nice. Yeah, and that's Marcelo Mater and Thomas Deere on the colors there. So awesome. Jeremy, which one are you picking?
I'm going to be a little contrarian. I like cover B with basically just the bad shattered glass version of Magnus. I just think, I had to change there. I just think the use of the having it be so dark and then the green smoke. I just think this would make an amazing print as well, with a use of glow in the dark on the greens, but it looks so intimidating, and I think it's great.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to go with the crowd and also pick the retailer incentive cover. So I really like that one as well. I agree with Apollo that it definitely shows a skill and complexity with the way the shards of glass had to be arranged, and the art, the Magnus face had to be reflected there. So I really liked it, and it also ties directly into the story in the comic. So very cool. All right, well, let's get into a summary of the story, and then we'll talk about what we thought. So the story is split into 2 parts. In the past, we see how Ultra Magnus was key to Orion Pax's rise to power to become the tyrannical Optimus Prime. In the present, we see Ultra Magnus growing tired of Prime's misrule. Starting in the past, Ultra Magnus is a legal advisor to Orion Pax, using his expertise with the letter of the law to help Pax justify his actions and facilitate his power grab. Ultra Magnus's friend, Senator Shockwave, pays him a visit and calls him out on his actions. Magnus dismisses the concerns and ignores him as one of Pax's lackeys, Bumblebee, arrives to summon Magnus for an audience with Orion Pax. In the present, Ultra Magnus and his wreckers have arrived at the throne of Pax for a word with Optimus Prime. The guards, Whirl and Sunstreaker, won't let him pass. Whirl starts to quote the law as to why he can't let Magnus through, but Magnus is not impressed and knocks Whirl aside angrily. Meanwhile, Sunstreaker gets a message from Optimus Prime telling them to let Magnus in, but only with one of his team as an escort. The other wreckers don't like the sound of that, but Magnus quiets their complaints. He takes Jazz with him and leaves the rest of the wreckers at the gates to take their aggression out on poor Whirl. Back in the past, Orion Pax has come to Ultra Magnus with an offer. Magnus has a crisis of conscience, but Pax says he's the only one who can support him in this task. He wants Magnus to build a squad that can start to seize power, but come up to, but not over, the letter of the law. Magnus is the only one with the skills to do this. Pax knows Magnus wears a mask, literally and figuratively, to cover his inner thirst for power and control. Pax is giving him license to take the mask off. Magnus finally agrees and starts building his squad with the recruits Pax gives him. In the present, Ultra Magnus arrives in Optimus Prime's throne room. Magnus tries to express his concerns about the current threats to Prime's rule. The Decepticons have taken Gold City and are gathering strength there, while Goldbug is racing to take control of the recently awakened Titan Metroplex. Magnus cautions not to ignore the Decepticon threat in trying to race Prowl and Goldbug for control of the Titan. Prime cuts him off and says he has things well in hand. The Decepticons are not a threat. Gold City fell because of Goldbug's incompetence. It's not Magnus's place to dictate strategy to him. Jazz angrily retorts that every time Prime ignored Magnus's advice, he lost a battle. The only reason he's in power is because of Magnus and the Wreckers. Magnus tries to calm Jazz down, but Prime has had enough. He angrily backhands Jazz, knocking him across the hall to the ground. Prime tells Magnus to get his bots under control. Magnus assures Prime that the Wreckers are the best of the best, but they are getting restless. Back in the past, Minibots Flashback and Laserbeak are chasing Senator Shockwave to get an interview about rumors of a military upheaval. Shockwave shoos them away, but then runs into Ultra Magnus and the Wreckers. The Wreckers tell the Minibots to scram, and they better not be recording anything they've seen. The Minibots quickly flee the scene. Shockwave isn't impressed with Magnus's goon squad, and the goons aren't impressed with the Senator. Magnus tells his troops to stand down, but Impactor ignores him after Shockwave insults the bots. Impactor gets increasingly aggressive with Senator Shockwave, and Magnus tries again to order him to stand down, but Impactor doesn't respect Magnus's legal authority. At his side, Cup tells Magnus words won't be enough to resolve this conflict. Finally, Magnus snaps. The mask slips again, and Ultra Magnus grabs Cup and bodily throws him into Impactor, smashing the other bot. Rather than thank Magnus for intervening, Shockwave calls Magnus on his secret desire for violence, power, and control. The holographic mask fully gone, Magnus embraces his dark side and leaves Impactor for dead while he goes to Orion Pax for a new deal on his authority. Ultra Magnus tells Orion Pax he needs complete control of the squad now, but he'll use it to execute Pax's will and authority. Pax is impressed, and he didn't think Magnus was willing to get his hands dirty with the final stages of the Autobot coup Pax was planning. So Orion Pax gives the order. Magnus and the Wreckers are to dissolve the Senate by force. In the present, Magnus leaves the throne of Pax unsatisfied by Prime's response to his council. He sees that Optimus Prime has grown complacent in his tyranny, and it's time for him and the Wreckers to make a change. So he gives the order to his squad, wreck and ruin. Ultra Magnus and the Wreckers abruptly surprise the Autobot guards and destroy any resistance before it can form. And Magnus immediately goes back to the throne room to confront Prime directly. And instead of using his title, he calls him by his old name, Orion. Back in the past, the Wreckers have taken the Cybertronian Senate and murdered most of the senators. Ultra Magnus gave the order to leave the last senator, Shockwave, for him. Magnus confronts Shockwave and delivers a savage beating. Shockwave pleads for his former friend to stop the madness and violence, but Magnus has fully committed to the cause and won't be dissuaded. With the Senate destroyed, Magnus takes the unconscious body of former Senator Shockwave to be taken for Empurata. After that procedure, Shockwave won't have any concerns anymore and won't feel anything. Finally, in the present, Ultra Magnus confronts Optimus Prime one-on-one. Prime attacks and delivers blow after blow, telling Magnus he'll pay for his disobedience. But Magnus has had enough. He blocks Prime's next blow and knocks Prime back. Magnus is tired of seeing Prime squander the support Magnus and the Wreckers delivered. Magnus and the Wreckers are the source of Prime's authority, and now Magnus is removing that support. Ultra Magnus thoroughly beats Optimus Prime and stands triumphant over his broken body as the Wreckers watch with glee. It's now time for Ultra Magnus to take full control. To be continued. So that is the beginning of Shattered Glass 2, issue number 1. I really enjoyed this. I thought this was a really strong issue. I really liked Ultra Magnus, this dark Ultra Magnus character. I liked taking the more than meets the eye version of Ultra Magnus, who's very rigid and very adherent to the law and rules and regulations, and then flipping that on its head. I really thought that was a nice inversion of Ultra Magnus, which is what Shattered Glass is supposed to be, I guess. I'm still a little confused as to why he has this skull face behind this holographic mask. That wasn't really explained, other than that that just is like a physical manifestation of the darkness within him, I guess. I mean, I don't know, but it was it was fun seeing his version of the Wreckers. How we have the Rodimus with the mustache, we have a Cup with his Cygar. That's a callback, shout out to All Hail Megatron from back in the day. And I thought, the relationship between Prime and Ultra Magnus was very interesting. It's a neat kind of mirror to the Ultra Magnus relationship in the regular G1, where Ultra Magnus always felt like he was kind of didn't measure up to Optimus Prime and was, didn't want to lead, just wanted to be a soldier. And yeah, I just thought this was a really strong story. I like the kind of flipping from the past to the present, and how Ultra Magnus starts off as just wanting to indulge in take his expertise and then indulge in the violence, but then he sees that Optimus Prime has squandered the power that he helped give him, so he wants to take it back. I just thought that was a neat kind of parallel from the past and the present. So overall, I thought it was really good. Of course, the art is excellent with Marcelo Mater and Andrew Griffith. Those are two top quality artists, and of course John Paul Bovio on colors. Also, I'm not familiar with Gigi Dutre, but her inks were helped to assist there. So thanks to all the artists for contributing and making this book really great. So really enjoyed it. Apollo, what did you think of this story?
I really liked it. I like how they're still referencing things from IDW 1.0. We had Senator Shockwave, like how he was in, the IDW 1.0. This is the bad version of him, and Ultra Magnus mentions Empurata, which was that really horrible procedure that happened to him in that.
Yeah.
I just like all the IDW 1.0 references and how they're flipped, because this is the alternate universe where, Autobots are bad and Decepticons are good. One of the lines that, one of the pages that really stood out to me, it's one of the last pages in the issue where Ultra Magnus is like, how does it feel to have been right about me the whole time with who I am, and and then he's really beating him up. He's like, do you feel like you won? And it's just, that really resonated with me, and that was really that I thought that was a really powerful scene, so but yeah, the art was amazing. I'm looking forward to reading the next issues for this.
Yeah, definitely. Daryl, what did you think of this book? Was there enough smashy action for you?
Yeah, it was violent enough. Um, the art was like outstanding. I'm a big fan of Marcelo's and Andrew's art. Like you said, they are top tier. They're superstar artists when it comes to Transformers art. Like, just fantastic. So yeah, I have no qualms with any of the art. I actually really enjoyed looking at every single page of this book. The the book is wordy though. It's very wordy, and I was getting really bogged down with some of the large speech bubbles. So it was covering too much of the art, I found. And that's where it was kind of getting too much for me. I was like, all right. And I remember this being a bit of a complaint with the first, Shattered Glass series, was that there was just too much on the page as far as, words. It's, but all in all, I enjoyed the book. The fighting at the end was fantastic. And it really did it did a lot of to help move the needle from boredom to excitement for me on for this series. I'm still not a huge fan of Shattered Glass. I really don't I don't I mean I get the point of it, but I don't think it's being done properly. But whatever. I'm not the I'm not the biggest I'm not the biggest fan of this particular genre anyway. But yeah, it was a fun book, and yeah, it's let's bring on number 2. Why not?
Issue 2 of Shattered Glass 2. All right, Jeremy, what did you think?
I really enjoyed this as well. I see Daryl's point in the wordiness, and I wonder. I mean, I know they're trying to get so much across, so it's a lot more tell, not show. But if you think about it, it could be an homage to More Than Meets the Eye with that Ultra Magnus. He's very wordy, and I don't know. But you said it was a complaint in the first Shattered Glass as well, so that's probably just how the writer is. But it's a very enjoyable book. I like some of the little things, like when they first go into Prime's throne room, and he just looks so bored, and he's just like balancing his axe upside down on his hand. It's just I love how they're depicting this Prime. It's not just a mustache twirly version of Optimus Prime. They're fleshing out this world, and like the take on the Wreckers and having Magnus basically customize the squad the way he wants, and the Wreck and Ruin tagline. I think that's a nice twist on the Wreck and Rule. So just there are a lot of little things in here that I liked. When they went into the Senate chambers, and you just see Magnus ripping Ratbat in two, and that's just little things that I picked out and I loved. But then just at the end, when Magnus is just being a complete badass, and I'm really interested to see where they're going to take this, because I hadn't read a lot of the original Shatterglass stuff from Fun Pub. I have some of the toys from a BotCon or two, but in general, I'm also not a huge fan of just the flip the good guys and bad guys concept. But I think this is being done really well, and I really like this take on Magnus, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where it's going to go. And like everyone said, the art was just top notch, just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think part of the reason that the you get a little bit more exposition, as I think you have to cram a lot of stuff for each character into each issue. Since each issue is supposed to focus on a specific character, I think you don't get a chance to spend more time with them and flesh them out, because the next issue is going to switch to another character. I guess the next one is Blaster, and we're probably not going to see much of Ultra Magnus in that comic there. So,
although Magnus could be the Starscream of this series, where basically Starscream was the through line in the first one. I can see that.
Maybe. Yeah.
And also, oh crap, my mind just blanked what I was going to say. Oh well, it wasn't important. So,
We're going to say Daryl is right. Daryl's right.
Whatever it wasn't that.
Never.
Okay, well, that's our review of Transformers Shattered Glass 2, issue number 1. And that will do it for this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode Reviews. So, as always, at the end of the show, we give a shout out to our masterpiece donatrons. These are the folks who continue to support us at our highest level on Patreon. So, thank you once again to John Forex Levengood and Demon Tech 82. You guys are awesome. We really appreciate your support. And Apollo, thanks again for joining us this week on Transmissions and Transmissions Alt Mode. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find you and your stuff online?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I had a lot of fun being here as always. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at RoboApollo. And also you can find me in the Transmissions Discord server. It is free for anyone to join. There's a really good positive group of Transformers fans on there, so please join. One of the things that happens weekly now on Wednesdays is there's a trips to the store section where a group of people come on in the evenings and hang out and show off their fun Transformers things that they've purchased. And I go on that sometimes. I haven't been able to go on lately because I've been really busy with a lot of things in my personal life, but it's a really fun way to discuss Transformers with other fans. So please join the Discord server.
Awesome. Yeah, check that out at transmissionspodcast.com/Discord. That's where you can sign up. And yeah, it's open, free to everyone. All right, everyone. Thanks again for watching and listening to this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Later.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Transmissions. If you'd like to join the conversation, travel to our Discord channel at transmissionspodcast.com/Discord. Want some cool transmission swag? Feast your eyes on our transmissions gear at transmissionspodcast.com/shop. If you'd like to support our podcast, go to transmissionspodcast.com/support or tell your friends about our show. We'll see you next time.